Hi everyone, welcome back to the Puttering Penman. Today I'm going to review the Parker Jotter Fountain Pen. So I picked up this pen a couple months ago from Atlas Stationers. I purchased it for $24 and I also had to buy a converter separately for $14. This is a Parker proprietary converter. The pen did come with one cartridge, which we'll talk about in a second. First, let me just show you the packaging. Comes in a cardboard box, it said that. This just slides out like that. There's Parker, and then inside there's another box. The cartridge, I believe, was underneath here. There is a little use and care guide. So pretty standard packaging for a $24 pen. I think that's perfectly acceptable. It kept the pen safe and it looks pretty nice. This is the pen itself. Just one thing to note, I did also pick up the Parker Jotter ballpoint pen, which I will do a separate review of next. I believe the Jotter ballpoint pen was $14. This color is the Bond Street Black, which is a matte finish. The fountain pen does come also available in the Bond Street Black, but I purchased it in the Royal Blue, which has a little bit of a shiny coating to it. So, the Jotter Fountain Pen has a stainless steel body. It's a snap cap. The section here is plastic, and it has a stainless steel nib. The body screws off to reveal the cartridge or converter. In this case, it is the cartridge. This is Parker's Quink Blue ink, which we'll talk about when I do the writing sample. The cartridge here actually has a really good ink capacity, more so than a lot of other pens that use a cartridge converter filling system, especially proprietary cartridges. One thing to note here is that there is a little hole in the cap right above where the clip ends. I think you can see it there. So some people might say like, oh, does the pen dry out because of that? So no, I have not had any problems with the pen drying out or hard starting, anything like that. I think this hole exists because I think there's used to be or still is a law in Europe where like if you have a certain pen that you like give out to schools and things like that, like you need a hole in the cap in case like a kid swallows it. I do know that is why the Bic Crystal cap has a hole in it. They did that because of regulations in Europe a long time ago. So I think that's why Parker did it as well. But anyway, it does not dry out the cap because if you look at how the pen would seal, it would seal like this. The inner cap inside the cap actually seals to this stainless steel ring just below the nib, and that's what creates the airtight seal for the nib. This hole is just around the grip section. Okay. So noting that, this pen is only available in a medium. One interesting thing is that the size of that is not written actually on the nib. It's written on the feed inside this little, where the breather hole is. It's hard to see on camera. It's also hard to see in person, but it is there. This pen is a cartridge converter system. Like I said before, cartridges are about $1 a piece. And the converter I purchased separately for $12. This converter, while it does, work fine and feels fairly robust, $12 is pretty expensive for this converter. I think the only other converter I know of that's this expensive is Platinum's, which is $11, and I think Platinum's converter is built a little bit better than this. But anyway, it doesn't have a huge ink capacity, but if you want to use non-Parker cartridges, with this pen, you will need to pay $12 in addition to the pen itself. In general, this is a very good pen. One, especially in the design, it's very lightweight. It's slim. It sort of has a bit of a vintage 1950s feel to it, which I like a lot. The only real design flaw I feel is that when you cap this pen, if you're not really paying attention, this stainless steel ring here will hit against the inner cap, and then you sort of have to readjust and recenter the pen before you can cap it. I find that happening to me quite a bit. Some people online have said that they have cracked the inner cap in here and then the pen won't seal anymore because they just try to cap the pen too fast and it eventually breaks. That hasn't happened to me yet, but it is one thing to note and be aware of. Yeah, that's basically the only thing, because I do like have to think for 1 second before I cap this pen, whereas a lot of other pens like the Pilot Metropolitan or the Pilot Prero or really any fountain pen, like you don't have to think about it because the nib is sort of guided into the cap easily. Okay, so let's do a writing sample. This pen does post. It is comfortable both posted and unposted. And the paper is a Rhodia A5 notepad. So just real quick on the blue ink, because I've never used Parker Blue on this channel. It's a blue that you'd expect. I think a lot of people would just be like, yes, this is a traditional royal blue. I do find that it leans just slightly on the purple side. It is a little bit wetter than usual. But in general, it's a good blue ink. Also, it's a washable blue ink. So I think this would be useful for kids in school who, not that many kids in North America ever use a fountain pen in school, but if a kid was learning how to use a fountain pen, this ink would wash out of clothes very easily and wash off hands very easily, because it also washes off paper very easily. So in my experience, this is a very good nib regardless of the price of the pen. At $24, this is basically an entry-level fountain pen, but for any price, this is a good nib. It has a little bit of feedback to it, but in general, it's probably just a little bit wetter than moderate. I have had no hard starts, no skipping. It is smooth. When I bought this pen, there was a slight misalignment of the tines. The right tine was just a little bit lower than the left. I didn't notice it for several days. I didn't really have to fix it, but because I was going to do this review, I looked at it under a loupe and saw that, and it was a very easy fix. All I did was just apply a little bit of pressure with the pen tilted a little bit so the right was lower than the left. And that fixed it in just maybe 2 minutes. So apart from what I said earlier about capping the pen, taking just a little bit more thought and patience, The only other downside of this pen is that the grip is very narrow. So I wouldn't sit down and write with this pen for a long time. It is a very nice pen for jotting notes. And I think, that makes sense given that the name is the Jotter. This would be very good for meetings. It could even be like a good pocket pen for you if you're just going to take like a quick note in a pocket notebook. So really, the only two downsides is that the grip is very narrow and the cap takes a little bit of thought to recap the pen. One personal preference for me is that this medium nib is broader than I prefer. I think it is like a true Western medium that is broader than I prefer. I typically prefer a Japanese fine. So for me, that's really the main downside of this pen, where it's only available in medium, so I may not use it quite as much as I would like to. I'm considering getting this nib ground down to what would be a Japanese fine by a nibmeister at the next pen show I attend. And then I think I would use this pen a lot because I really like how compact it is, how small it is. It would be great for taking to work. It would be great for putting in my pocket. And yeah, I really enjoy like just the feel of this pen in my hand. So with that is my review of the Parker Jotter Fountain Pen. If you have any questions, please leave them below in the comments, and I will see you next time. Bye.